This is Dennis with Velvet Addiction, here with legendary Bob Sumner, comedy guru extraordinaire. Bob, let the people know who you are and where you're from.
Well, my name is Bob Sumner. I hail from Roselle, New Jersey, by way of I now reside in Union, New Jersey, but I'm a Jersey-born cat, and I just enjoy spreading the love around the country, around the world. That's what we do.
Now, for people who might not know you, what would you say your title is? How would you define yourself?
Oh man, a lot of people call me like a star maker, basically. It's funny, but people have labeled me as like the Black Lorne Michaels, I guess you can say, because my track record is like it's pretty unbelievable. I have to even say, because I've discovered quite a few of the most popular comedians in the world today. I mean, guys like Bernie Mac, the late great Bernie Mac, I should say, Bill Bellamy, Chris Tucker, Mike Epps, Monique, Dave Chappelle. I mean, a lot of people. If you ever watch Def Comedy Jam, I pretty much laid that down for Stan Lathan and Russell Simmons, back in the day, and I guess the rest is history. But we're still, making moves, so it's all good.
And so, what inspired you to get into comedy? I mean, there's a lot of professionals out there, and most comedians, have a unique story about why they got into business. Why didn't you get in front of the camera, on the stage, and out behind the stage?
I mean, it's really a funny story, but it's not a funny story. I mean, I actually was born into the entertainment business. My dad was a manager of singing groups, and my mom worked at RCA Records. So I was like around, entertainment, as well as my uncle. I have to say, he was the lead singer, Tony Williams, for the Platters, the legendary Hall of Fame Platters. So I was around it, and my brother was he was a well-known guitarist in the New Jersey tri-state area, and then my other brother was in a singing group, and I was just around entertainment, and we used to go to the Apollo Theater almost every Wednesday for amateur night, and every weekend for the matinees. I mean, and I could tell you, from seeing all of the Motown reviews and the James Brown reviews as a little kid, they always opened up the show with comedians, and I saw Mom's Mabley. As a little kid, I saw Mom's Mabley, I saw Pigmeat Market, Nipsey Russell, Red Fox. I mean, as a kid, so it was always intriguing to me what the comedian did, as well as like they used to show the movie before the show at the Apollo. I mean, a whole lot going on. So it really all happened at the Apollo Theater. I really have to say that. That's how I got into the comedy game.
Okay. All right. Now you do shows. I mean, that's kind of your forte. You set up shows. You discover new talent. When did you start actually doing your shows and stuff on your own?
After the basketball games in high school, I used to have the party. I was always the cat. My mother had the records, and I used to take the little 8-track players and the little component sets and hook them up, and it was like teas. They used to have teas, and I charged 25 cents and make $100. I mean, it was always like that. It's very inspiring. I went to college and got into, playing on the radio, WSOU, college radio. They do a lot of rock now, but I did a show called Mellow Madness, which was crazy.
What school was that?
It was Seton Hall University.
Okay.
And I went through those, I went through all the changes, hooked up. I mean, it's a whole lot that goes on with how long I've been in the game and how much I love the game. And I shouldn't even call it a game. It's more like an art. I would say it's an art because what these comedians do, these men and women, I mean, it's phenomenal. But I mean, the whole thing, what a lot of people don't realize is music was my forte. As much as I've been successful in comedy, I actually could have done the same thing with music. But I saw that comedy wasn't being hit the way it is now, so I caught it at the early ages. So it's cool.
Okay. So tell us about the comedians you discovered, because you named some pretty heavy hitters with the Def Comedy Jam series. Obviously, they didn't come out of nowhere. So tell us a unique story about maybe some of the people you discovered, how you discovered them.
I mean, there is so many stories to it. I mean, I recall one time when I got a phone call from these comedians who was telling me about this young lady in Chicago. She came to see me with $200. I took her to Russell's house. We had a meeting with her and let her know what we were getting ready to do, and she became Adele Gibbons. And then the Whale and the Tic Tac. There was a story behind the Whale and the Tic Tac. But at the same time, time, I had asked Adele about some other comedians in the Chicago area, and she told me about this guy that was from Chicago, and I gave him a call. He told me he was going to be in Atlanta, and we was going to this this conference called Jack the Rapper, and he was performing at this place called the Comedy Act Theater, which they had one in LA, and then they had one in Atlanta, and I went to see this guy, and this is the first time, and maybe the only time I ever rolled on the floor, because a lot of people say I don't laugh, but I do laugh if it's funny, and this guy, Bernie Mac, really made me laugh, you know, so, you know, that's one of the stories, and it's so many stories, you know. Actually, while you're conducting this interview right now, you know, we have a show going on the other side, and if you don't mind, we can like take a break for a minute so I can just run over there and see what's going on. I think there's one story that really sits on my mind like so vividly. Every time I think about it, I say, wow, look what happened. And it's ironic that tomorrow I'm leaving for the Bay Area comedy competition up in Oakland, California. A good friend of mine, Tony Spires, he's been doing this thing for like over 20 years, you know, and I was a judge one time up there, and I was looking at comedians for the new season of Def Jam, and I went up there a day early because I judged on Saturday, but I wanted to see the comedians on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was like 60 comedians, and they had like 20 comedians per night. So this first night, I'm up there, and they announced that the top 7 comedians will go into the next round of 21. So this one comedian had me in stitches. I mean, I was absolutely floored. And at the end of the night, when they brought out all of the contestants, he wasn't one of the top 7. So I ran backstage and I told him who I was, and I explained to him that we had this new TV show, and I'm, you know, trying to make something happen. And turned out to be Chris Tucker, you know. So, I mean, I have so many stories like that, you know, and it's just a great feeling when I see my guys survive and when I see them make it, you know, because when I say survive, it's a fine line between sanity and insanity with a comedian, you know. And I mean, you might be the funniest guy in your neighborhood, you might be the funniest guy in the town, but, you know, when you want to make a career out of being a stand-up comedian, you have to be universal, you have to be versatile, you have to be funny all over the place. And those are the guys that make it, the ones that have that it factor, or the ones that have that point of view that they're actually on stage talking about something. And I just love when I see it, and believe me, I see so many comedians that are what we call whack, that you can really see when a comedian, you know, makes a difference, and I think my track record speaks for itself.
So what motivates you to keep doing it? I mean, you've been doing it for so long.
I mean, the motivation is the love. I mean, this is what I do. I mean, some people are painters, some people are, you know, masons, some people are basketball players, football players. This is what I do. I travel all around the country, and I take guys. I remember when Bernie was working for Wonder Bread when I first met him. You know what I'm saying? Bill was working for a cigarette company, taking cigarettes to different mom and pop shops and, you know, bodegas. So, you know, you see this guy go from this to that. It's a beautiful thing.
All right. Now, as far as the things that you're doing now, tell us about tonight and get to the comedy series that you have going on.
Well, I mean, the comedy series that I have going on in the other room is actually, it's called Second Thursdays. It's just a monthly series of entertainment, live music, stand-up comedy, and the spoken word. You know, coming from the Def Jam family, we do the comedy thing, we do the music thing, and we also do the spoken word thing. So we've kind of like mixed it all up, and it's been very fruitful, you know, since we've been doing it. But at the same time, you know, I have other plans too. I just partnered with Arthur Spivak from Spivak Management. He managed Paul Reiser for a number of years, and he retired, got back into the business, and I've been looking for somebody to partner with so I can now develop some LeBrons and some Kobe's the same way back in the day I considered Bill and Cedric and Bernie and Chappelle and them to be the Jordans, you know what I mean, the Barkleys, the Ewings. So it's a beautiful thing right now.
All right. So who's on your roster if you're looking to cultivate?
No, I'm glad that you said that. It's actually it's a management / production team. So if you know some guys that's out there, aspiring writers, have some scripts, whatever, Arthur and I and our partner Daniel Paul, we're really open to all of that. But you know, I mean, we have quite a few comedians that we're working with, guys that's been in the game for a minute that we feel really needs to be seen right now. It's their turn, you know, like Corey Holcomb, Red Grant, Roz G, Coca Brown, Big Rome. Then we have some young cats like Damn Fool, you know, Kevin Simpson out of Chicago, Corey Fernandez from Brooklyn. We have a young kid, Brandon Hot Sauce Glover, coming out of St. Louis. I mean, there's so many comedians.